Chief Meeches, thanks so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about the history of this dispensary.
Okay, thank you very much for having me today. So some time ago, obviously, when cannabis was legalized, there was some preliminary discussions with the province related to possibility of opening up cannabis shops on our First Nation communities, and we kind of sensed back then there would be some issues related to cannabis on reserves. The big one was the social responsibility fee, and that was introduced, and really that caused some challenges for us because what it is a indirect tax to treaty customers on First Nations lands, on reserve lands. So we expressed our concern about that, and that SRFE is still part of the regulatory policy of the province, and so we had hoped to challenge that at some point in time down the road when we had a Metashops at Kishkimakwa and Madison. Unfortunately, we never really got to visit that. As you know, Kishkimakwa Meta closed well over a year ago, and some of that can be attributed to the SRFE imposition. And the Madison Metashop was fully compliant, and although we had concerns with the SRF there also, the province chose to shut that store, cannabis shop, down as part of, I guess, their punishment to Long Plain regarding the Indigenous Bloom store that we have located here. So Indigenous Bloom opened up months ago, and obviously the province was quite concerned by that and is with their actions. We've taken the position that it is a sovereign store, and it is legalized under our cannabis law and fully compliant, Health Canada approved products. So not sure what the real issue is. I guess it's really about the province having imposing unjust jurisdictional control over our lands. So that's the crux of the matter.
So, Chief Meeches, why was the license ultimately suspended in May?
Because of Indigenous Bloom. I mean, the Madison Metashop was fully compliant, doing very well, by the way, and a decision was made by the province to shut it down because they felt that we had an illegal store that was operating outside of their regulatory body, which is, in our opinion, at this point, doesn't reflect on us as we're moving towards a sovereign store and working with the federal government and Health Canada on what the approach we've taken here. So it is an issue, an outstanding issue, and we expected the government to actually take a heavy-handed approach as we know what kind of premier we're dealing with in this province. So it was, and we were expecting them to take an aggressive approach to this.
So why is this about more than just a marijuana store?
It has to do with the imposition of the province is overreaching. It's their policies are quite heavy-handed in terms of how they view Indigenous governments and First Nations. They want total, I guess, jurisdiction over how the economy moves forward in our First Nation communities. But that's where it's basically won't be accepted by us. I think this, on the eve of our 150th anniversary, which we'll be celebrating on August the 3rd of this year, this country, Canada, had a lot of time, and through their legislation and policies have done a lot of damage, and including their economic policies and legislation. So nothing has really changed in terms of how these things are addressed by colonial governments, and therefore, I mean, we're beginning now, and having a partnership with Canada. We're beginning to enforce our own laws and our own legislation, And we're basically playing catch up with this, but our sovereignty does need to be respected. And in the case of this particular provincial government, there's really there's a complete disconnect from what this province and how it's handling Indigenous governments and our economy. Well, practically everything. There's a lot of issues related to lands, gaming, smoking. There's so much challenges we face with this particular government.
All right, Chief Meeches, that's all the time we have for questions. I want to thank you again for joining us. That is Chief Dennis Meeches.
Take care. Bye.